Hey there, Postal here. So today we are taking out the Ki-84, which only tends to get tier 8 battles, I've noticed. It is what it is, not a big deal. Honestly, it isn't, because this particular plane's biggest weakness is its airspeed, which you should be used to on all Japanese planes. And so, you know, going to tier 8 where you have even less airspeed compared to the tier 8, it's like, okay, like, it's more of the same, right? And yeah, this plane has a lot of the weaknesses that a lot of the Japanese planes have. It catches on fire very easily, it can't take hits very well in general. There's this huge amount of hit points every time it does get hit. And so you can't necessarily be as aggressive as you necessarily want to be. It does have a lot of positives, though. It's very maneuverable, as you would expect. It's not zero maneuverable, like the whole zero line. This is the Army line, remember? And so it's maneuverable compared to most planes, not as maneuverable as things such as the zero line, or even like the Yak fighter line. But it's pretty darn maneuverable, right? It also, there's a very significant jump in altitude performance with this particular tier, this particular plane. The tier 6 is okay, but the tier 7 really comes into its own. It's kind of capped at about 5,200 feet before it goes to yellow. But its ability to still perform well in the yellow is what sets this plane apart. A lot of people, you know, treat this like it's a BF-109. I think that's a mistake. As far as, you know, BF-109 still performs very well. Like, doesn't lose maneuverability when you get up that high, and still has its airspeed. This plane can get up that high, but it tends to lose a lot of airspeed doing it, and it definitely loses its maneuverability. So we're here in the middle of the airfield, and this is one of those maps that potentially has the ability to, you know, set ourselves up for success. Like any turnable fighter, having a center sector where you can just kind of hang out is certainly not a bad thing. I didn't really check what the heck I need to watch out for very well. Probably not the best tactic. I don't want to run into like a Yak 15 or something like that that's just going to completely own me. At least in turning ability. I can certainly do a lot to a Yak 15. I just need to be aware of it. Oh, the Jawa, huh? So what do I... LA, okay, and a BF-109G. Ooh, BF-109G, especially that player, can be a difficult matchup. Speaking of which... go ahead and knock him out. Get the air brakes on. Get some. Yep, hey buddy. Let's see what we can do here, if anything. There's somebody right behind me. Yep. Too much typing. Don't type and fly. All at a boost, which is unfortunate. This plane is always at a boost, though, at least when I fly it. So go ahead and... let's see what we can do here. So you've got two 20mm cannons, you've got two 30mm cannons, and a combination of that is really good against all kinds of different planes. The 20mm cannons are on the hub, and so very good, you know, accuracy with those. The 30mm cannons are right on the wing, so they're very good for those kind of less maneuverable planes. And so that being said, you know, I feel like you can kind of do a little bit of everything with this plane as needed. 30mm cannons are pretty short range, but he's given me pretty short range target here, so let's go ahead and take advantage of that. Alright, so yeah, we're putting ourselves in a position to do pretty darn well here. Again, this is a sector that a lot of the bots are going to be going for. Heck, a lot of the humans are going to say this is the most important sector. It is definitely important in this kind of map where it's just garrisons all around it. And, you know, we're able to hopefully own this sector pretty well. Especially considering I really am the most maneuverable thing on the battlefield here, which you typically will be in a Ki-84. Again, there's going to be some that you need to be mindful of. But right now, I'm not trying to do anything outside, you know, trying to force this plane to do things it really doesn't want to do. And I suppose that really is the key to any plane that you play in this game. There we go. I don't have the plane specialized. Once it's specialized, I believe I can get frickin' engine cooling, which would be super nice. Because this plane's, I've already mentioned it, this has a complete lack of boost. Goes fast enough when I need it to, though. So let's go ahead and get ourselves up to a decent altitude. Be paying attention to whatever's coming in here. 262, obviously, we can only take on when he decides it. It's kind of the downfall of a lot of fighters, right? Like, especially the slow fighters. It's like, I can't engage a 262 unless he wants me to. And you can't engage a lot of the Tier 8 planes unless they want you to. But that's not unique to this plane. It's just a little bit more accentuated with this plane, that issue. Especially in a Tier 8 battle. As we hear the rockets, as we hear the jets going above us. Cut him off for the pass! And miss all our shots. Go! I guess we'll head over here. Sure, why not? Game's almost over. We've been owning the center, which has allowed our team to kind of own 4 out of the 5 sectors for most of this game. Let's not get head on by a 262, because that would be bad. Use our boost while we've got it. We've knocked out an engine, so we've actually got a chance here to stick with him just long enough. These 30mm cannons, if I can get them to hit, can definitely do damage versus said... Got him just before. Oh, dang it! Hit the frickin' spacebar right as we were getting out of there. Shoot, didn't get to say good game to anybody there. Well, if this is a postable game, and if anybody's watching it that was in that battle, it wasn't because I was skipping out on the game quick. I just accidentally hit the spacebar. I hit it so quick it's not even going to load the game details, huh? So, I mean, granted, that was a pretty good game. That was, you know, kind of like most turn fighters. That's kind of a quintessential situation. Take one of the outside sectors, get to the center, own the center, and go from there. 18 frags, 15,000 personal points. Yeah, good stuff. And, you know, just unfortunately for the other team, their planes couldn't compete with the turnability. If that's not a word, maybe it is, of mine. But did this guy leave early? Is that what happened? Okay. And so because I knew that, Tier 8, Tier 7, it doesn't matter. If I can own the center sector because of my plane type, that's the best play for this type of plane. Now let's say we were going up against a Yak-15 or an A7M, something that's more maneuverable. Again, they're few and far between, but you need to be paying attention to that. That's where you're going to use the Ki-84's altitude performance to, you know, to really take advantage of the situation. So I've actually got the A7M here, and we can compare the aircraft details. And my A7M is specialized even. Who knows? I specialized it early on, so who knows if it's any, you know, a proper specialization. It has 4 20mm cannons. I think they're the same guns as the 20mm cannons on here. We'll just say they are. Sure, why not? There's something to be said about the same, you know, 4 20mm cannons. You've got that consistency, and they don't overheat like the 30mm cannons on the Ki-84. But the 30mm punch is pretty darn nice. Survivability is actually a little bit better on the A7M, but I mean, you're splitting hairs. It's a Japanese fighter. It's gonna, 20 hit points doth not a heavy fighter make. The airspeed is, yes, the same, but again, my A7M is specialized, so you've got a little bit more airspeed with the Ki-84. You've got, I've got the maneuverability built up pretty far onto the, maybe I need to actually get somebody in here. Why is my maneuverability low on the A7M? Checking. Oh, that's because I was being silly on here, and I've been fooling around with this setup. So my maneuverability is actually down on the A7M. That's because I'm trying to build it for survivability. It's not, I don't know if it's really working or not. But the maneuverability on the Ki-84, built up is still less than the A7M built down, if that makes sense. Pretty maneuverable though, right? Again, we're going to compare it to, you can't outmaneuver the most maneuverable plane at the tier, but we can get close. What separates the two of these is, look at the altitude performance here. 3,600 feet is where you're going to start turning yellow on the A7M. 5,900 feet is where you're going to be turning. So like, what is that? It's not double, but it's close enough, right? And that does make a difference. You feel pretty comfortable up until about 7,000 or 8,000 feet in this plane. You feel pretty comfortable up until about 5,000 feet in this plane, and that's about that. And also you want to keep in mind the rate of climb is slightly better with the Ki-84. So yeah. So overall, like just straight up comparing these two planes, metrics-wise, the Ki-84 is definitely the better plane. Has better guns, has that better altitude performance, and the airspeed, splitting hairs. The maneuverability is definitely the A7M's wheelhouse, but you sacrifice a lot to get the best maneuverability in game. At tier, I should say. I'd rather honestly have a plane that has really good maneuverability, but doesn't sacrifice all of its, everything else to get the best maneuverability, if that makes sense. So I think this is a really good turn fighter for this tier, and I certainly highly recommend it. Now, you do have to go through some funky planes. These two planes, if I remember correctly, the tier 4 and tier 5, their guns I thought were pretty darn weak. Oh, it's got two 20mm cannons. Maybe this one it was. Oh, you got 20mm cannons here. So maybe I'm just wrong. Maybe I'm thinking. Oh, I'm thinking there's a premium Ki-43 like 1B or something like that. It has some pretty terrible guns. It's Chinese too, right? Tech tree, Chinese. It's kind of a useless. It's not even in here. I know I have it though. I promise. I'll show it off some other day. But to get to this particular plane, I'm rambling and I apologize. These planes here didn't really thrill me by any means. Then again, it was early on in my career, so maybe I should go back. I've recently bought the Ki-61 back. And again, you have a pretty big, decent altitude jump from this tier 6 to the tier 7. I just really like the tier 7. It's just a really well balanced machine. Basically, you trade in, both sets of guns do an upgrade. You get, instead of 50 cal machine guns, you go to 20mm cannons. Instead of 20mm cannons, you go to 30mm cannons. So you get a significant jump up in impact. The tier 8, the Ki-94-2, I wasn't overly fond of. You get more altitude performance, you get more airspeed, but it's not a jet, and you have the same guns. So to me, I wasn't overly fond of that, but I know a lot of people that like the Ki-94-2, which is the tier 8 above this. And then above those two planes, you get this plane right here, which you finally get a good burst of airspeed. You actually lose altitude performance going from tier 8 to tier 9. It's pretty funny. And you lose maneuverability, but it's not the end of the world. For its tier, it's very good maneuverability, 81. It's two 20mm cannons, which hit really hard and fire very fast, but it is two 30mm cannons, and everybody knows how difficult those can be. And then you end at the Ki-162 Mark III. Even more airspeed, even more altitude performance, and yeah, so it's a pretty big jump up. Although I've added a lot of stuff to make the Ki-162 Mark III even better. like all the Japanese planes that you're ever going to see in the game, the engines, stop working as soon as they get shot near. They catch on fire as soon as they get looked at sideways. So, just be aware of that. Don't expect that to change down this whole line. But in my opinion, the Ki-84, and for that matter, the A7M, are both worth going down the fighter lines. They're probably the best fighters of their respective lines, in my opinion. And just a lot of fun. If you can deal mentally with, having to deal with the friggin' tier 8s stomping on you from time to time. Anywho, a lot of rambling. I apologize. Trying to throw a lot of information out. I know this is Marching Nations Week. I want to make sure everybody's, just got the information. Going to try to do a Jawa video later this week. We'll see how that goes. And I know my youngest said he wanted to do a video with me during Japanese week, so I'm sure I'll have a video with him. Otherwise, I hope you're enjoying Marching Nations Japan week. Definitely take advantage of the discounts. I need to remind everybody, if you enjoyed this video, share it, subscribe. I'm trying to get some more subscribers. I'm above 500, but I'm really trying to push to 1,000. And we'll see where we go from there. So thank you so much and have a great day.